this collapse, I mean, listen, if you want to go back to the offseason, to September, even October, and go, they're never supposed to be here. How upset can we get? They're a rebuilding team. All right. But like the 8-game losing streak and then everything that transpired last night. And listen, the goaltending, the losing streak, that's all really why they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think John Tortorella deserves, he needs to write a thank you note to the Montreal Canadiens for icing the puck with 7 seconds left while leading 4-3, because that lets him entirely off the hook for what he did last night. Benching Morgan Frost and, to a lesser extent, Bobby Brink for the final 32 minutes of the game, when you have to score a goal. When Sam Ersson is saying in post-game interviews, we started this game down 1-0 because we had to win in regulation. The two guys, like Bobby Brink is one of your most effective, or Morgan Frost is one of your most effective offensive players. I thought Brink had a pretty effective first period. I know he had like a turnover at the blue line that kind of, but like if you're going to bench a guy when he makes one mistake in a must-win game and he has a chance to score a goal, like I think John Tortorella might be the right coach to instill the culture that we're trying to build here, and them competing all the way through the end is maybe proof of that. We've talked about him getting, moved upstairs, him moving upstairs at some point.
Yeah.
When this team is good, I can't have him as the bench boss. No, you can't bench Morgan Frost for the final 30 fucking minutes of a game where you have to score. Like, that's embarrassingly stupid. It's asinine, and any sort of excuse he gives for it, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And the proof is you scored one goal and it came off the stick of Eric Johnson in a must-win game. It ended up not mattering because Detroit ties it up, and them just forcing overtime, it's over. But it came down to the final 7 seconds. There's a whole a period and a half where it mattered.
And theoretically, you did not know that it didn't
you
matter.
had no idea. Montreal was in the lead that whole game. This is just, I have no explanation for this. And I haven't criticized Tortorella much in these first 2 years because big picture, I see what he's getting at. But these little decisions are going to matter when the games matter more, like when this team's actually competing.
Yeah.
You lost the game on purpose last night as far as I'm concerned. And let's just get to the rebuild thing as well. Part of the reason we're not tearing it down and tanking is so these guys get experience in these big, meaningful games. That was the biggest game of both of those players' NHL career last night, and they got 30 minutes experience sitting on the fucking bench?
Yeah.
No, that did no one any good. Sorry. The rebuild wasn't helped by this. The team wasn't helped by it. What purpose did this serve other than the ego of John Tortorella?
Well, I mean, his answer would be, and I wouldn't necessarily agree with this, but his answer would be he was trying to win the game.
How'd that go?
And he put the guys on the ice that he felt like would give the team the best chance of winning the game. That's his reason. So if you're saying what purpose did it serve, that would be his reason, is that you hire him to pick the guys who on that night he believes are going the most. His belief was that Morgan Frost, Bobby Brink, Cam Atkinson were not going, and we're not going to, on that night, create any goals for the Flyers. So he went with the guys who he believed had a chance to do that.
Guys who never create goals.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is that you can't just say it makes no sense. Like there is an answer as to why he did it. You could just, my viewpoint is that it was the wrong move. I said this last night.
There's no other viewpoint. He can give any excuse he wants. He's wrong.
Brink is whatever. Like I can't get too hyped up about Brink. I think there was probably just as big of a chance Brink would have screwed up to lead to a goal against as to create a goal for.
Maybe.
Morgan Frost, on the other hand, yeah. I mean, he's been one of your best offensive players really since January. And I know he hadn't been playing great in the few games leading up to game 82, but I don't think he'd been playing so bad that you should rule out in your head that he can't possibly be involved in a goal. Look, in my mind, this is just every coach, even the really good ones, are going to have blind spots, are going to have fatal flaws. And one of John Tortorella, like Andy Reid has won the last three out of the last 4 Super Bowls or something crazy. Like, we know from watching him in Philly what his fatal flaws are. We know them all too well. He's still a great coach.
Yeah.
Still one of the best coaches of all time. He has shit that he's bad at. He is not great at adjustments. We know this. He's really, really bad at time management. We know this. John Tortorella, one of his biases, blind spots, fatal flaws, is that when the chips are down, he's always going to trust the Ryan Palings and the Noah Cateses and the Garnet Hathaways more than the non-elite offense-only guys like Morgan Frost, like Bobby Brink. That's just who he is as a coach. That's who he's always going to be. I don't disagree with you that if that's who he's going to be, that should play a role in them deciding, if and when they have a team with a lot of those guys and they're looking to win the Stanley Cup or win more than one playoff round and whatever, that maybe you don't necessarily want that guy coaching that team. But I don't think it takes away from the fact that he's still a good coach. It's just that this is part of the Torts experience. He's done this at other stops where he leans on the grindy vet types in key situations. We got a taste of why that can be frustrating on Tuesday night. Simple as that.
It is. And he can give any reason. He's objectively wrong in this. Like, you don't bench guys who can score when you need to score. Ryan Poehling is a very good player. I like Ryan Poehling a lot. Glad he's going to be here. Hope he's part of a fourth line. Garnet Hathaway, Charlie, you said when they signed him, you know what? Since we have to watch every game, he's going to make our game viewing experiences a lot more fun for 82 games. And he absolutely did. Like watching these guys. Noah Cates, I've, especially the second part of this season, liked where he's kind of gotten back to his game. He played strong last night as well. None of those guys ever score. They don't score. They don't create offense.
Not often.
Like, if you're going to shelter, put him out in strategic situations of Morgan Frost, like, okay, we can't trust him in every situation, but we have to score. You need to figure out a way to do that. Your default cannot be, well, they're just not going to play. That's ridiculous. And if the Montreal Canadiens don't ice the puck with 7 seconds left, the reason we're not alive right now looking to tonight's Pittsburgh game is because John Tortorella was obstinate.
Obstinate is a good word. And it's also like you're needlessly shortening your bench in a game where
you went with 9 guys. You went with 9 forwards.
Yeah, you need the team firing at 100% for 60 minutes in order to win this hockey game. And you've just decided that you're going to take away a quarter of your forward core for reasons.
I guess his thought process would have been that the 9 guys he felt like were going, it gives them more opportunities to score. It gives them more minutes, more opportunities, more chances. I know they didn't. I know they didn't. But I understand why he did it, and I understand what drove it, because I understand to at least a decent degree the way he thinks and the types of players he values. And that speaks to, Bill, what you were saying, which is if this is just who John Tortorella is,
we can't win with that.
I don't think that's true. I don't think the Flyers can't
unless you come up with 12 all-star forwards and give him no choice.
No,
is he going to sit Mitchkov because he needs Garnet Hathaway out there in the third period?
I guess I'm not going to hold anything put anything past John Tortorella, but I don't think that this is so much of a fatal flaw that like John Tortorella is incapable of winning playoff games because he will lean on Noah Cates instead of Morgan Frost in a game 7. Does it slightly decrease the win probability and maybe like a 0.5 percentage point? But it's not like a guarantee that because of that they're going to lose. There's a lot of reasons why the Flyers lost this game. Yeah. It's not just because Morgan Frost didn't play in the second half of the game.
Let's not confuse Morgan Frost and Bobby Brink with Travis Konechny or even Matvei Michkov, hopefully down the like. It's just that given the limited talent this team already has, you were like, we're going to have even less and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Like you look at, and it's not as if Ovechkin is the 65-goal guy anymore, but last night scored number 31. That's a pretty good total. TJ Oshie, not exactly what he was when this team won the Cup or a few years ago.
Still scored the game
you look
winner.
at who scored for them.
Yeah.
High-end, high-paid guys. Like, they leaned on those guys. They came through.
And the fact of the matter
Eric Johnson scored for the Flyers.
Yeah. Like
Eric Johnson.
Charlie's obviously correct about what his thought process was and why he does it.
Yeah.
but he was objectively wrong. So like that's a problem.
It is a problem.
In that his judgment is objectively wrong.
It's like
it's a problem. I guess I don't think
it's not like one time this has happened.
I don't think it's a problem that is destined to always work against him.
No,
because there are so many
Right.
variables that go into winning a game that you can make a decision that objectively lowers your win probability and still win that game.
Sure.
And if that coach adds to win probability in other ways, even if he gives back in one particularly annoying way, the net can still be his net impact can still be positive on a team. So I don't disagree that it's frustrating. I don't disagree that it does need to play a role in the ultimate decision as to whether John Tortorella is the right coach when hopefully this team has a ton of skill if they ever get there. I think that is a reasonable point to make, and it has to be involved in the decision-making process when they get to that point. I just don't think it is like going to prevent John Tortorella from ever having playoff success with this team when he's head coach. I think that's a little much.
There's a lot of reasons they didn't make. Like I said, if they just forget the 8-game losing streak. If they just don't play 2 of their worst games of the season against shitty Ottawa this year, if they just beat the winless Sharks, like we're having totally different conversations.
Right.
Even if they have that 8-game losing
and
streak.
there's so many things you can look to. Like if they have a goalie that's not Cal Peterson against Pittsburgh in that one
They win that game.
They win that game easily. Like there's a lot of games you can point to and say that was the one.
It's just this was game 82 and this is the situation you were in. Like you can't fix what happened.
Yeah.
So you needed to do what you needed to do last night, and he failed to do that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it did not matter, again, because of the Habs, and that's why I think he should write a nicely worded letter to the fine
French.
people of Montreal, Canada.
I mean, Montreal might respond decently well to that letter. I do not think the fan bases of Detroit and Pittsburgh would respond well to anything that John Tortorella has to say right now because they are pissy.
If there's any silver lining,
they're salty.
If there's any silver lining to this, obviously before the Flyers game ended, like the fates of the other teams were kind of now in the court of John Tortorella. And I suppose he did not know when he pulled the goalie that it did not matter anymore. And that allows TJ Oshie to score the empty netter, which eliminates Detroit and Pittsburgh. And they're furious. And if there's any silver lining to this goddamn collapse, it's that Sidney Crosby ain't going to the playoffs.
Sorry.
Revenge for 97. We got you bitches.
I felt like
finally
reading all of those diatribes on Twitter.
Suck it, Yzerman.
On Twitter last night from Detroit and Pittsburgh people. I felt like the living embodiment of the Jerry Seinfeld. Well, that's a shame.
Yeah,
gift.
it's a shame.
Like I truly felt like that the living embodiment of that gift.
I had, it's too bad about that. Typed out to like 5 different people. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to talk shit when my team went on an 8-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Lost 9 of 11 to close the season.
Yes.
Probably not going to do like, what am I going to say? But at least we kept them out of it.
We all silly like the mayor.